All right, I'm Russell Payne, and this is another one of the Vindicators candidate spotlights. Today we'll talk to Earnest Clayton, who is a candidate for Congressional District 9 on the Democratic Party ballot. But before we jump into that, just want to go over some housekeeping items. Voters registration deadline is February the 2nd. Early voting will begin February the 17th and run through the 27th. Election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd. We will have a pair of candidate forums that we're hosting at the Dayton Community Center. The first will be on Wednesday, February the 11th at 6 p.m., and that will feature Congressional District 9 candidates as well as Senate District 3 candidates. The following night, also at the Dayton Community Center at 6 p.m., we will have Liberty County Commissioners Precinct 2 and 4 candidates, as well as 253rd and 75th District Judge candidates. Our election guide comes out on February the 12th. It'll both be online and in the print edition of the Vindicator. With that said, Mr. Clayton, I'd like to hand the floor over to you and introduce yourself to the voters.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of the audience members at the Vindicator. So first off, my name is Earnest Clayton, and I am a congressional candidate for District 9. A little bit about myself is that I am number 5 on the ballot, but I'm originally born in Port Arthur, Texas, which is a small refinery town. I am a former educator, but I have been a public servant in public health for over 20 plus years. I've dedicated my life for working with underdeserved communities, as well as communities through Harris County and Liberty County as well. I've also made sure that within the confines of working in public health, that I made sure that people had a voice when it came to their health care. So right now my campaign focused heavily on affordability, health care, and also civil liberties, because with being a work as an epidemiologist, a lot of that has to focus upon building community, as well as ensuring that people have representation in all forms at the local, state, and federal withstanding. And so my campaign is rooted in just working with people within District 9. Being from Port Arthur, Texas, I've seen a lot of issues that came about that relates exactly to what's happening with District 9. I've lived in Houston since I was 18 years old. And being in Houston and being in Liberty County and Baytown, the same issues that focus upon individuals such as the cancer clusters also affect a lot of family members back home. In regards to, being exposed to cancer. So just in 2025 alone, I lost 9 family members to cancer. And so that has all been linked to petrochemical issues. So I got into this race to ensure that I was a voice for the common community within District 9. And I know a lot of those environmental factors not only exist where I'm from, but also really press into District 9 as well.
Well, I think that's some of the issues. My first question was some of the issues that you thought were most important. That seems to be. We'll start. Affordability. Mm-hmm. You talk about affordability. What does that mean for you if elected? What is your priority there going to be?
So affordability. My priority is to make living affordable again. So right now, people are forced to choose between paying bills and paying for medication to stay alive. Mm-hmm. Like being out in just Liberty County, I talked to a woman named Verna, and Verna was telling me that she often has to take money from paying her electricity bill in order to pay her prescription medication, just because there has been an increase in her Medicaid and Medicare premium. And so that has been an issue for everyone across Harris County as well as Liberty County. And so just think about just a small increase can really mean a deficit in how you can actually live for that month. So what affordability means to me is making sure that the senior doesn't have to choose between paying their bills and choosing to get life-saving prescriptions. It also means that a mother should not have to choose between feeding their child and also putting a roof over their head. Mm-hmm. No one should have to worry about when they go to the gas pump, if this last drop of gas is going to put my savings on my credit card into a negative. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is the issue that we're facing right now, because affordability also goes into the other issues that I focus on a lot within my campaign, which is, healthcare and, just civil liberties. But affordability is affecting everyone. And I tell people all the time that when it comes to affordability, it's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democratic thing, it's a right and wrong, and it is going to affect millions of Americans, but really it's going to hit home in District 9.
Healthcare, and I think one of the things that's interesting about District 9 is you have a very large, top-notch hospital facility in Baytown, whereas you do have that. But at the same note, you have rural healthcare in Liberty County, which is the other half of the equation of this. We have one hospital remaining. There is a private HCA hospital that's in Cleveland, but there was another hospital in Cleveland that's now out of business in the last year. What are your ideas on rural healthcare and expanding that for folks?
So I believe, I know for a fact, I am the only individual that has the knowledge and the background to really address the healthcare concern. So as an epidemiologist, I look at trends. I look at data, and I also look at how the healthcare system overlooks the rural communities. So I just say this: no city is supposed to have their residents drive more than 30 minutes to get access to healthcare. That's not supposed to be the District 9 or the America that we live in. And so one of the things is healthcare and hospitals supposed to be within a 10-minute radius from each individual, because there's some life-saving things that are happening. So when it comes to having rural healthcare, I think we have to focus upon what can we actually do to get quality healthcare. So one of the things that happens in Liberty County is that you have hospitals that are closing down, but we also don't have the right representation when it comes to medical care. So when it comes to looking for specialty care, when it comes to looking for quality doctors, we don't have it. Like you said, we have to drive all the way to Baytown to get it. But even in Baytown, they're facing a disparity when it comes to healthcare as well. So my thing, what I want to make sure that I implement when I go to Washington, is to ensure that I protect the saved care, which is, and also loan forgiveness. And so that means that when people are graduating from medical school, and also when they're graduating from nursing school, that they have half of their student loans forgiven so they can work in rural areas such as Liberty County. That means that we have an increased influx of healthcare providers that are well educated and it be accessible to communities. Also, we give them a break. It's going to also boost the economy. That means we can open up more hospitals, more emergency care units. We can also access more telehealth. And so focusing on those situations by providing healthcare providers with a chance to come into these areas to support the community, that is important. Because right now in Liberty County, one in every 8 individuals will be diagnosed with cancer-related illnesses in their lifetime due to lack of health care and lack of access to health care. So I'm leaning on loan forgiveness programs, making sure that we bring in those healthcare providers to Liberty County and District 9 so they can also receive an incentive on their public service work, and as well as making sure that we just protect, the constituents of District 9 and make sure that we are healthy.
Stay on healthcare. You bring up cancer and the cancer-related issues related to the petrochemical industry. Now, there's a balance that you're going to have to find there, because that is what makes up District 9. Is if not, it's the petrochemical business and it's the workers that work in there. So how do you balance that? What is the one side it is what funds us and what feeds us. On the other side it may make some folks sick. Yeah.
So the thing is, I definitely believe that we want to protect the jobs, right? We want to protect those that are working in petrochemicals. Like as I stated, being from Port Arthur, Texas, you had only a few choices. You either work at a chemical plant or you work locally. And so for a lot of the areas, that does affect the health. I mean, a lot of toxins are being released out in the community that we can't really attest for. But I believe that some stricter regulations have to be put up on these petrochemical plants. So take for instance, when it comes to notifying residents about what's happening, I think that those have to be in place on a stricter level of what type of toxins are being put out into the air and what they can actually do to make sure that they limit their exposure. But also making sure that stronger guidelines are put on for EPA standards. So when I'm elected into Congress, I plan on working on the Economic and Commerce Committee. So that committee consists of public health infrastructure, education, and also maintaining EPA standards within petrochemicals. So also economic stability as well. So that means that I can hold these petrochemical plants accountable while also maintaining a way for people to keep their jobs, but also ensuring that people have equitable access to health care. I want a lot of the subsidies that are poured back into the petrochemical plants to be redistributed back out to some of the residents in District 9, not for monetary gain, but for more so to lower down the cost of their light bill by building solar panels. So that goes into clean energy, that also boosts the economy, that also makes sure that everyone can be able to support where they live, also be able to have some kind of buy-in back from the industries that are affecting them in their area.
Immigration it's at a fever pitch right now.
It is.
No matter which side you're on in the conversation. But some of that has been seen here in Liberty County specifically, and of course in Harris County. I think to the folks here in this county, probably Colony Ridge would be the area of focus that conversation tends to take. Fortunately, we have not had any of the issues that seem to shown up in some other parts of the country right now. Again, not getting on any side about that, but fortunately we haven't.
Yeah.
But where do you see your role in dealing with that? Where do you see yourself if you're elected to Congress? What do you want to see? What do you want to see? Looking at Red Banana, what do you want to see? Yeah.
So there's a couple things in there. You got Colony Ridge and we got immigration, right? Mm-hmm. So those are some big things. So I would say with immigration, right now, it doesn't matter what side you're on, right? Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or you're Republican or independent. We have to make sure that we're abiding by what the Constitution actually states, right? Mm-hmm. So the Constitution states that everyone is offered due process. So that means if you're a citizen versus a non-citizen, you are subject to due process within the United States of America. I do believe that ICE agents should be properly trained in how they de-escalate situations. Mm-hmm. I want to ensure that American citizens are not harmed, but I also believe that those that are not American citizens should have a more humane way of being detained, correct? So I want to ensure that immigration is definitely at the forefront, but I believe that it's a more humane way to do things because a lot of immigrants make up a lot of our small businesses. A lot of immigrants make up our communities, but that is what America was built on. But I do believe that we should have stronger immigration policies. So a lot of people focus upon the Mexico border, but I'm thinking about immigration as a worldwide issue, right? I mean, not a worldwide, sorry, as an American issue. We have to make sure that the process for legal status and citizenship is much easier. If anyone has never been through it, I've had students, I've also had people that I was friends with that has went through the legal process to become citizens, and it's often take years. And I believe that in 2026, we should have a more effective way of doing so. And about Colony Ridge, the thing is, that is a disaster. Infrastructurally, it's a disaster because building Colony Ridge also put Liberty County and it put a strain upon infrastructure in regards to flooding. It also put a strain on how the environment can work, and also it put a strain on our education system. Mm-hmm. So Liberty County, the teachers here are not making a fair wage. I had a person named Marie that I met at a town hall event, and Marie was telling me about how her classroom went from 25 students to over 35. And as a former educator myself, 30 students is a lot. I've been in a situation to where I've had 30 students and they've added more. But the thing is, being underpaid or not being paid correctly, and you having to deal with that onslaught of students coming into your classroom, that is a lot. And so Colony Ridge, is a bait and switch for those who bought into that system. So, with predatory lending, I am totally against that. Also, I believe that with Colony Ridge, outside of infrastructure issues, we also have to deal with how we deal with people at a humane level. Right. Bringing people in and telling them that I can make sure that you have effective cost of living. Every person should have access to get that American dream, so to speak, of acquiring land or home ownership. But I don't think it should be done on the backs of people that are uninformed. And so in my capacity, I've been making sure that I've been informing people about different policies, especially when it comes to lending and healthcare and infrastructure, so people can make sound decisions on what's happening with their bodies as well as what's happening with their money. So when looking at the whole infrastructure of not only infrastructure with Colony Ridge, that how it affects teachers, but we also have to look at how does it actually affect the expansion of jobs in the area, and also the people that it brought in.
Okay. Infrastructure as a whole, not just Colony Ridge, is going to be a big deal going forward for this county with the growth. What role do you foresee have in Congress? What direction would you like to see? The developers are coming. They're coming. Of course, a lot of that's going to fall on the state, but the federal government can have a hand in some of that with roadways to some degree.
Yeah. So I believe that a city should undergo development, but I believe it has to be done in a way where the citizens are informed, but they all get an input in how the way that they live and their structures are actually focused. I believe in community engagement. I think that is a big part of our democracy. Community engagement and making sure that the community stay informed. And I also believe that it brings jobs, right? And so I know a lot of issues that people had, like with Colony Ridge, is that it brought in a lot of immigrants that were taking jobs from people, right? But the thing is that we have to think about how can we actually get our area to be more supported in the decisions that are being made within infrastructure and in policy. So I think when it comes to infrastructure, we have to definitely focus upon how can the federal agencies help guide state agencies in doing certain quality checks. So I believe that when it comes to when things need to be built, I believe that federal guidelines should be able to guide those, but I believe that the state level, it needs to be passed to local agencies so they can handle correctly. Because I believe Liberty County was founded in 1831, I believe. Yeah, and so you have to have some kind of autonomy when you're building in your community.
Right. What unique talent do you believe you're going to bring to this job if you're elected?
So when you said if, but I'm a say it in existence. So when I'm elected, the unique talent is that I am a person that is from a refinery town. I have lived experience with District 9, and so when I look at District 9, I see that there is a lack of educational resources. I see that there's a lack of healthcare infrastructure. I see that there's a lack of accountability when it comes to Medicare expansion. I want to make sure that I have the knowledge as an epidemiologist and an informed educator to help inform policy-driven decisions that are actually driven into data. I believe that people can tell a story, but having those numbers that really drive how we make decisions are important. And as a person that looks at data all day, every day, I know that I can have the knowledge, and I do have the knowledge to ensure that we're looking at how we can effectively make District 9 more stronger. And also, I'm able to see things from a different perspective. So, like I said, my background is science and public health, but I also have that lived experience. And so, when people say they've been in within the communities for 15 or 14 years or 20 years, it's like I actually have the experience. I have worked with communities to help a high school get built from the ground up to ensure that their students had access to associate's degrees and as well as CTE curricula to make sure that they were on the job ready post graduation. I also have the understanding on how to deal with large scale pandemics. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, I was a subject matter expert for Harris County. When it came to reporting deaths amongst COVID-19, I was that person that actually reported the number of deaths that happened within Harris County. And so you have to think about that in perspective. I would talk to people on a Monday, and come Friday, I would receive their death certificate. So that involved some quality thinking. That involved quick, fast decision making. Because not only did I have to handle that case as an epidemiologist, but I also had to have that human approach with it as well. So that means that I had to help families navigate how to find a funeral home, because everybody knows during COVID-19 it was really tough for it to find a funeral home that would actually bury your family members. I had to work with funeral homes and identify some proper structures that they can actually do to make sure that they were taken care of and protected, as well as the people that were attending the funeral. I also helped find resources to families who did lose family members, making sure that they had access to knowing what resources were out there regards to SNAPs, to looking at their healthcare and their Medicare and Medicaid, and also looking at how they can actually navigate the process of paying their bills. So not only was I working as the person that was reporting numbers, but I was also in a capacity to work at that human level to say, hey, I'm standing with you. And so that's what actually separates me from a lot of my opponents, is that I have that lived experience. I also have the knowledge of making sure that I have that strong foundation in public health that I can actually put to work with the constituents of District 9.
All right. If you are, you said when you are the Democratic nominee,
yes,
you will have to run again in the fall. We continue running against the Republican candidate. This district, by some accounts, has been drawn to be a Republican strong district. Liberty County itself voted 82%, I believe that's the right number, for Donald Trump in the previous election. How are you going to appeal to those voters, as a Democratic candidate in that instance?
So the thing is that you have to go out there and you have to talk to people. So I've been on the ground. I believe in, I don't know if it's because I'm a Capricorn or or it's just because I'm, I was the first Democratic candidate to actually jump into this race. The thing is, so when I'm in Liberty County, right, I actually go and I talk to people. I'm door knocking and I'm having conversation with people. I know for sure that people have voted for Donald Trump, and I support that. That is what the America that we live in. That's called democracy. When you're able to have a conversation with somebody who has voted Republican versus your own thoughts about voting on a Democratic ballot, that's democracy. That's what that looks like. So when I'm having a conversation with someone that supports Donald Trump, I always ask them, do you agree with what's happening right now? You can love someone, but you may not like exactly how they treat you. That's the same way in customer service, right? You can love the food, but you may not really care for the customer service. But with talking to people, I really try to connect with them to understand what are some things that you're unhappy with, and what would you like to see in your next congressman or congresswoman. If I don't get selected, what would you like to see? And so I listen. And so the thing is, I don't try to down talk anyone from their perspective, but I give them the education so they know what's misinformation, what is information that can actually benefit them. And the three things that I always land on with every single person, no matter if you vote Republican or Democrat, is affordability, healthcare, and civil liberty. and they also look at how the process of immigration can be more humane. So the thing that separates myself from my Republican opponents, they don't believe in doing things the humane way. They have their policies and their politics, but my thing is I always believe in putting people over politics, because we're not voted into this election to represent any king, any authority. We're really here to do what's best for our constituents. But I am for working across party lines to ensure that I get things done, but I'm a fighter. I want to make sure that I'm fighting for a person that didn't vote for me versus someone who did vote for me. Because I want to make sure that District 9 has a strong voice, and that we are able to go to Washington and ensure that when it comes to decisions, that they know that they have a fighter, that they also know that they have a person that is knowledgeable and believes in equitable opportunities. And so that's what sets me and my opponents different from each other.
How can people learn more about your campaign?
So you can learn more about my campaign by going to my Instagram, Clayton for Congress. And you can also go to my Facebook, Earnest Clayton for Congress. You can find out a lot. I try to be as active as I can, and I'm responsive. So also send me an email at info@earnestclayton.com. But I like to be as interactive as possible. So, follow me on Instagram at Clayton for Congress, and let's have a conversation.
Well, a few more details. We're going to go back over. We're going to recap these. Early voting is going to begin February 17th. If you're not registered to vote and you do desire to vote, February the 2nd is the deadline for that. Primary election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd. Candidate forum, hopefully you will be there with us on February the 11th at
I will
6
be there.
p.m. Dayton Community Center, Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3. The following night, Precinct 2 and 4 Commissioners for Liberty County, 75th and 253rd District Judge races that night, again at the Dayton Community Center. And our election guide will come out that same day, both online and in print. Would you like to make a final pitch to the folks?
So, thank you for tuning in to The Vindicator, and I really appreciate Russell for allowing me to be here. So, once again, my name is Earnest Clayton. I'm a former educator and epidemiologist. I believe in making sure that District 9 has access to health care, should be able to have access to affordability and have civil liberties intact. And so when elected into Congress, I will make sure that I fight for those things. Making sure that you're able to afford the price of groceries, making sure that you're able to afford the price of prescription medication, having a strong healthcare policy that's backing to make sure that you have quality access to healthcare, and also making sure that your voice matters when it comes to elections and when it comes to just your right to live. And so if you align with those same belief systems, or if you just want to know more, definitely select me to be your next congressman for District 9.
Earnest Clayton, good luck, and we will see you at the forum.
Thank you, sir. I plan to be there.